So in this video, I'm actually going to cover the exact method that I've used to raise millions of dollars worth of investment capital to fund my real estate deals throughout my 18-year career. I've coined it the 1123 method. There was a lot of this I was doing by accident throughout my career that I was able to actually go back and reverse engineer what I did to actually turn it into a system that I actually teach other people how to use so they can actually scale their real estate business a lot faster than I did. Okay. It took me 11 years to acquire 25 properties, 76 doors in order to replace my income. It was my major aha moment when I became financially independent, but then I had my wife to consider, right? Because I started this journey alone. And the reason I started this journey is because I lost both my parents when I was in my 20s. And I saw two hardworking people doing everything the right way for myself and my brother. And unbeknownst to us, they were living paycheck to paycheck our entire childhood until their untimely death, right? So that was my big why associated with wanting to become financially independent myself. But if I was going to live out this vision of this enriched life with my wife, my number one life partner, and go backpacking through Europe for 2 months at a time, it wasn't going to be a thing if she was stuck in a classroom teaching high school math, right? So why am I even an authority, or why should you even listen to me in regards to the subject of capital raising? It's because I've been able to grow to a $15 million real estate portfolio, starting with an original investment of $16,000 of my own cash back in 2006. All right. So I've been able to use creative financing in order to scale without having cash being a bottleneck in my growth. So I started in smaller multifamily deals, figured out that at the end of the day, on paper, those investments seemed like a good investment, but at the end of the day, they were paying me like $200 to $300 a month in cash flow, which took me forever to achieve financial independence and replace my income. So my major aha moment was when I was independent and I was like, okay, I want to do these things with my wife, but my friends are stuck at work, my wife's stuck at work, my family's friends are stuck at work. And so what do I do now? Right. So I always knew I wanted to go bigger and do bigger deals to make bigger financial impact and also be less busy in the process because I was working for a large national real estate development company. And I saw how the economies of scale led to those properties actually being less management intensive than the smaller multifamilies I was doing. So that's what led me to do the jump, right? I took down a $1 million commercial property and I had to raise $300,000 in capital. That was the first time I actually had to raise capital from investment partners. I had to raise it from four different investors. And so I was able to take that deal down. I pushed the value from 1 million to $1.6 million, and I was able to refinance that property, pay my investors back, and also replace my wife's income, which she was a teacher, so it wasn't that much. It was $60,000 a year, but now we get to live life on our terms, right? Now we have two kids. All right. This wasn't, I was really obsessed with being busy back in the day when I first started my business. Like, listen, man, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I just want to go home. I want to be home with the kids. I have work ethic, but I just don't want to be that busy. All right. So the reason why scaling might be important to you is that you may own a couple of small multifamily properties. You want to do bigger deals, but you're still in the educational and discovery process. So this video is for you to educate you on what you can do right now. All right. And stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give you actually like a step-by-step action plan as to what you can do starting today to position yourself to start raising hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in investment capital, and also in a methodology that doesn't dilute your equity. I was able to scale up to about a 10 million, no, $12 million portfolio with really not having to give up any equity in the process. So that's the advantage to doing it this way. The 1123 method is essentially it's blending high tech and low tech. And I'm going to share my screen with you in a second, but it's blending high tech and also low tech because raising capital I found is a relationship business, and relationships are really they start in a low tech format in terms of building the trust. And trust and relationships only move at the speed of trust. So this method actually augments the low tech sort of face to face personal interactions we have your sphere of influence and how to grow that sphere of influence intentionally so that you can exponentially grow your capital base over time. And then methodologies and tactics to use high tech to keep that sphere with you top of mind as a real estate professional. So then when it comes to you needing to raise capital, you've already done the work. So the capital is going to be infinitely easier than it was for me to raise my first deal, raise capital for my first deal, because I wasn't doing any of this stuff, and it took years off my life. It was a major scramble. And so by watching this video and implementing what I teach in it, you are going to be able to miss out on a lot of the heartache that I caused. So I'm going to share my screen with you real quick here. All right. Excellent. So now this is there's three different types of people that it might be in your network, right? There's friends and family, there's kind of arm's length professional contacts, and then there's people that you don't know you, all right? So this whole method, the 1123 method is essentially starting with your core low-hanging fruit of people that have that trust factor with you, and then doing things intentionally, which I'm going to teach later in this video, in terms of how to warm and develop that network, and then how to expand it exponentially, so that while you're, if you scale from $1 million deals to $3 million deals to $10 million deals to $15 million deals, that you're going to be exponentially scaling that. This essentially is like, this method is uh, blockchain for relationships, right? Blockchain is what's was developed in developing cryptocurrency. I'm not a big cryptocurrency fan, but it's just the easiest analogy in terms of most relevant, newest types of technology. And it's a method of consensus. All right, so I'm going to break this down for you a little bit. So there's this common misconception and debate out there of find the deal. You're gonna hear this when you're going out there and networking and listen to podcasts, that sort of thing. Is that if you find a deal, the money will come. The money will just magically come. All right, like from strangers to invest in your deal. Complete nonsense. All right, the money comes first, and then the deal. And what I mean by that is that when you go to a grocery store, for instance, you don't go to the grocery store without money and then go around and say, okay, well, I need carrots, I need broccoli, I need rice, and that sort of thing. And you take the stuff off the shelf, and then you start going around asking for money from complete strangers. Okay, the money does come first. All right, so this is something, and this is the reason why it's important to start educating yourself on this now through my trainings and other people's trainings in commercial real estate realm, because this stuff takes time, and the sooner you can start, the more ahead you'll be when you are ready to make the leap into commercial real estate, for instance. All right. So the reason why you should start caring about raising capital now is because, like I said, it's a trust business, and relationships only move at the speed of trust. So it's like the old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Okay. So this is why don't get hung up in the fact that, like, if you're doing fix and flips or you're buying small multifamilies and you have bootstrapped your entire way, utilizing your own cash throughout the whole thing, and say, I don't need anybody's money, and that sort of thing, is that you're going to lose a lot of traction when it comes time to, because you're going to want to do larger deals eventually, especially if you want to reach financial independence, walk away from your W-2, and it's very difficult to scale from a small multifamily portfolio and keep bolting onto that while maintaining a full-time job and a family and every other obligation you have in your life. All right, so start using this right now, this method. The mantra is uapma. Okay, and this is use other people's money always. All right, so even if you have the money, use other people's money. The reason why is there's a few different reasons, actually. Number one is that as you scale into larger and larger deals, this is kind of a technical sort of commercial financing thing. If you want to learn about how commercial financing works, I have a 45-minute training that's actually right after this video that you can tune into. But commercial financing, as you grow into larger and larger loan amounts, banks are going to become more scrutinizing on you and your own personal balance sheet. So the idea is that if you keep using your own money to take down larger and larger deals, you're going to be blowing your cash load. And there's going to become a point in time where banks, as you get into larger community banks and regional banks and then national banks, is they're going to look at your own personal balance sheet and be like, we want to see some liquidity here. This whole mantra of, like, if the deal makes sense, the bank will just fund it in commercial real estate might work during your first $1 million to $2 million in transactions. So you want to be able to leverage other people's money, even if you have the money, to keep the strength on your balance sheet in terms of cash and cash equivalents. Now, that being said, there's a lot of people that argue against keeping cash, and dead cash that loses value to inflation. And there's merit to that, right? You do not have to keep it in 100% cash. What I do is that when I build up my cash reserves, a lot of times through cash out refinances where I'm pulling hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash out of investment properties that I have, is that I'll stick that cash on my balance sheet, give it to my financial advisory firm. They'll invest that money into marketable liquid securities. And then that actually can count as cash or cash equivalents when you're looking to obtain financing for larger and larger commercial real estate deals. The reason why this is important is because if you want to keep most, if not all of the equity like we do in our commercial deals, we have to maintain our strength as personal guarantors. And in order to do that, we need to have the most strengthened fortress balance sheet possible. Okay. I'm going to have a future training on our continuous balance sheet optimization method that will be included in the coming weeks, but which you'll definitely want to tune into in terms of why that is. But just get in a standpoint of this. Reason number two, and this is the last reason I'll touch on in this video of using other people's money always, is when you use other people's money and they get paid back and they get a return on investment and you did what you said you were going to do and you overperformed, right? And underpromised, overperformed, and you basically, wrote them little love letters at every single month when you paid them, if we were paying them monthly in terms of ACH payments or checks. This is really what develops the proof of concept. You just talking about your track record with people definitely helps, but when you actually do business with them, they tell their friends about it. The well gets deeper the next time they actually, you actually are doing a raise for a deal. Case in point, there was a high net worth individual that I had, brought an opportunity to back several years ago. This guy was worth, had 20, $30 million liquid. Okay. I was raising $440,000 for a real estate deal I had going on, and he'd only give me $50,000. All right. So I almost didn't take him on. It would have been a huge mistake if I didn't. But I took him on anyways. All right. So I cobbled together, couple different investment partners, paid him back. And then when it came to fast forward 4 years later, when it came to raising for a larger deal that I had, he wrote me a check for $1.5 million. $1.5 million. So that only would have happened if I did a deal with him, if I did business with him to begin with. So UAPMA, remember that as part of the 1-1-2-3 method. Okay. And I'm going to get into what the 1-1-2-3 method means, right? So, and the whole thing is dig your well before you're thirsty, right? That was what the whole essence and spirit of UAPMA is all about. All right. So the 1-1-2-3 method at a high level is social augmentation. It is the social blockchain containing, basically harnessing the high tech and low tech together, right? If you think that you are going to raise capital from complete strangers that do not know you from Adam for your first larger commercial real estate deal, you are wrong. Okay. You're going to feel the pain when you go to try to raise capital by putting your deal up on a Fundrise or a Realty Mogul or one of these crowdfunding applications. Okay. The active big syndicators, right? The people much bigger than I am out there, they use those platforms to kind of augment their capital raises. It's not a one-stop shop, right? So if they have to do a $10 million raise, they may raise $2 million from these platforms, right? And then the rest of it they raise from pre-existing relationships, right? So all of this starts from one-to-one relationships. Okay. So this is the one-to-one where it starts. All right. So the one-to-one, and this is sort of where it gets into some sort of tactical type of things in terms of homework, is when you start, today, right? And hopefully you start today because this is the best time to plant that tree, is contact your entire sphere from a friends and family standpoint, right? The people that already have the built-in know, like, and trust factor or KLT factor with you. And start to change your identity, right? So you may be, always known as Bob, head of quality control for Procter and Gamble, and that's always been your identity, and also happens to hunt and also happens to make beef jerky, okay? Like that is your identity. And on the side, you've been secretly buying real estate. This could be small single family, small multifamily properties, even fix and flips, whatever. And nobody knows about it, okay? Because you keep that part of your life private, right? But you have no problem posting pictures of your food or beef jerky on social media, but you want to keep your business private, right? I think flip-flop that. Like nobody cares about your beef jerky or pictures of your food, or a picture of your cat. Okay. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your long term business interests. And also, it's really not serving the people that are in your sphere of influence. They might be entertained by that type of stuff, but you're really not actually like inspiring them to do anything that is going to improve their life. All right. So what I like to do, and this is part of the 1123 method, is that I reach out to all of the people that are in my sphere of influence, right? And then what I do is then I ask them to introduce me to other people that might have an interest in real estate. So that's the two, right? So I turn that 1-to-1 interaction to a 1-to-2. And then what I do is I use a social media strategies, and I have content strategy that's associated actually with some of my trainings, the 15 commandments of social media in your business. That is another video that's a training video on here. It's about 30 minutes or so, totally free, just a resource that I put out there. How to use social media tactically to nurture those 1-to-1 interactions that you develop over time to keep them to essentially indoctrinate that sphere. And then when it comes time to actually raising capital, you have the identity associated with I am Bob, not from Procter and Gamble, but Bob, the real estate investor, and I'm good at it. That's the identity shift that you need to focus on doing, and what you need to do for your sphere of influence as well. All right. So the three comes into with social media, right? Because you have this indoctrination method in here. I'm going to kind of like elaborate on that as well, right? So the reason why social media is so powerful in all of this is because um, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Swingers. I'm a geriatric millennial, so there's a lot of references that I tie on that other millennials and especially Gen Zs like just don't get. But there's a scene from Swingers where John Favreau's character meets a girl at a bar and she gives him her phone number, right? So, Vince Vaughn's character says, wait 7 days before you call her, okay? Pretend like you don't care. I'm not saying like pretend you don't care about your sphere of influence or anything like that, but this is kind of how this stuff works, especially with this method. So what ends up happening is John's character ends up calling this girl like 10 times that night that he meets her, right? And keeps calling her, and like basically goes through the entire relationship process, and then she basically tells him at the end is like, don't ever call me again. All right. So what you want to do is that the way that social media works in terms of content generation, I'm going to go into specifically in other trainings, specific content generation strategies to keep reminding people that you are in real estate and you're good at it, right? I'm going to actually share with you some different content ideas you can do actually using artificial intelligence to help, kind of stir the juices, that sort of thing. And by the way, this is a training for, experienced real estate investors, but also people that are starting to leap into smaller investment opportunities. So if you're buying a small single family house and you're fixing flipping it or you're renovating it and that sort of thing, document every step of the way of that journey. People love to see a hero's journey from somebody starting from like the ground level. Okay. Huge. All right. So this is kind of a rhetorical question, right? So would it be better to call or text you once a month over 5 years or call or text you 60 times in one day? All right. Same number of touch points, but there's a certain amount in terms of the rhythm and the cadence with relationship building that this is just how brain chemistry works. This is how human evolutionary sociology and psychology works. All right. So this is what I use social media intentionally for, is maintain those relationships that I make 1-to-1, and then 1-to-2 with new interactions that I have with people that are introduced to me by people that are in my top sphere of influence, people that are the closest to me, friends and family that introduce me to people that are in the sphere, right? So I use the word indoctrination, and that has a negative connotation, right? People think of, the Nazis during World War II and the propaganda and that sort of thing. Indoctrination is marketing essentially, right? So this is a scene from Clockwork Orange. Another, I'm dating myself here, but this is what people think of when they think of indoctrination. But really, what it is, it's marketing, right? And everybody out there that is an individual that is a real estate investor is a business. And every business should be marketing, because the business owner's struggle in terms of growing is always with obscurity. So you see Coca-Cola on a shelf in a grocery store amongst, you know, 50 different types of drinks you could choose from, maybe even more, right? I come from Rochester, New York. We have Wegmans, right? So we have, we'll probably have like 100 different sodas and seltzers and that sort of thing, but that bottle sticks out on the shelf, right? It is the human evolutionary psychology of people wanting to, place things in buckets, all right? Place things in buckets and easily categorize them. This always comes back to like when we were cavemen, And, it's like, okay, this berry with it's a red berry with hairs on it is good to eat. The red berry without hairs on it is, it all goes back to this human evolutionary psychology. And that's how marketing actually works, right? So, and I just pulled this up here, right? So this Nike swoosh, right? That, has probably cost Nike hundreds of millions of dollars to develop this brand recognition around the world, all right, is $90. Found the same exact thing at Walmart for 33 bucks, right? I was actually surprised that like actually crew neck sweatshirts were actually this expensive these days. I thought it was gonna be like 15 bucks, but you get my drift, right? This is what you could do as an individual business owner. All right, so actionable type of things you can start doing right now. Okay, this is the meat and potatoes of what you can start doing right now, regardless of where you are in your real estate journey. Whether you're looking to buy your next large commercial property this year, or whether it's not even in on your radar not yet, but you kind of have that feeling that it's like, yeah, maybe in 5 to 10 years, commercial, right? Larger commercial deals, meaning 5+ unit multifamily, commercial office buildings, industrial, retail, all that stuff. We own all those asset classes in our company, but so, what you can start doing right now, right? So, export the context from your phone, right, into a spreadsheet, right? This is how you start developing your CRM system, your customer relationship management system. And then what I do is I actually train my students on like just assign a 1 through 3 value on them, right? So, one being very close friend or family member, like that person that when you pick up, when you talk to them, you have what I call a best friends conversation, right? But two being a mutual fun friend or somebody that might be like sort of a little bit arm's length, in terms of like a arm's length sort of relationship. It's a friend of a friend. You talk to each other maybe like, 15, 20 minutes at a party. You never really get together one on one. You don't go like, hey, let's have a play date every Friday afternoon or something like that. Okay. And then three is like, I have these in my phone. I'm not really sure who that person is. Okay. Still keep them. Okay. So anyways, what you're going to do is connect with all these people over your major social platforms. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to go through, you'll see on LinkedIn and Facebook, you'll see like, people that you know. And what I go through is and you can go through hundreds of contacts. Set off, set like let's say, during your morning coffee for 30 minutes or whatever time block this in, go through those people you know. If you're, between 25 and 25 years and older, you'd be surprised at how many people when you actually see their face, you'd be like, "Oh man, I forgot that person even existed," right? So going through those and connect with all these contacts or the major social platform, connect with all these people that are under even, 1, 2, and 3, because you have a lot of capacity to grow your network. I believe in Facebook, you can get up to 5,000 connections. Okay. So this is what I do in terms of all of those people I find. I want to connect to them because I want to market to them. Remember, you are not your social media profile on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook it's a website. Okay. And your quote unquote friends are not friends. They're traffic. All right. I started a website when we had GeoCities during dial-up internet that, I had a little ticker symbol down the bottom and I was like thrilled when I had a new visitor to my website. This was like when I actually had to manually create, you know, HTML or hypertext markup language to actually make my Simpsons fan page. Okay. This is how you have to think about your social media profile. Even if you do not believe in social media and you think it's the devil, which I think it is the devil, but it's a highly effective marketing tool for your business. If you're looking to grow a business, it is one of the most highly leverageable tools in terms of rapidly expanding your business. So don't sleep on it. All right. So if you don't have social media, get on it. All right. Because you're not going to be able to scale at the rate you want to scale if you're doing it all on the low tech type of things in terms of one-to-one interactions, even though those are actually the most highly effective in terms of relationship building. But it is once you add social media, it becomes fire. Okay. And I'm going to explain why later on. All right. Actually, let me explain now. All right. So what ends up happening is like this sort of consensus building, right? When you go through, and this is what goes for me. All right. When I am raising capital for a deal, all right, it takes time. And this is maybe somebody that I haven't even done a deal with before. Somebody that I've actually been, I connected with over coffee 2 years ago. I'm connected with them on LinkedIn and they've been consuming my content that's around real estate stuff, any type of, subject matter that I do in commercial real estate. And then I send them out an email when I have an opportunity to raise for. what they're going to do is they're not just going to talk to you, they're probably going to talk to a couple other people, right? And these people could be just even like 6 degrees of separation. They may not even know these people, or even, they may go to the person that's sort of like the super connector in their sphere, right? And they're going to ask that super connector, is like, hey, have you ever heard of this guy Matt Drew, and like, what do you know about him, right? And that person, if you've done your job in terms of expanding your network, is going to and also had been touched by your content over the months and over the years, then they're gonna be like, yeah, no, I hear they're a great person. I hear they're a great person. It's that sort of consensus building. With now, you have to dovetail this with maintaining a stellar reputation. Like, you can't just like go out there and just because you're connected with a bunch of social people on social media, like, absolutely be a rapscallion, whatever that means. But like, Snidely Whiplash, right? In terms of like, bad guy characters with a bad reputation. But this is what makes highly effective raises, so that when I have a $1 million capital raise or $2 million capital raise, I raise that money like in 2 weeks, like that. That's how this stuff works. Instead of the slow slog that happens, the grind that happened when I was first raising capital for my real estate deals, right? So the next step is reach out to those people that are you rated 1 on your spreadsheet, right? And then just reach out to them and catch up. You don't have to have any sort of agenda or anything like that. Some of these people that are rated 1, like, you may only see them like once or twice a year, right? And oftentimes when you get together with them, in a they're like it's like at a family get together, and there's a bunch of kids running around. And I mean, I'm a father of toddlers, and it's just like I'm like talking to somebody for 2 seconds, and then my daughter does something where I think she's gonna kill herself or severely injure another kid, like, and it's like sort of like there's not that sort of being present, one on one with that person. Okay, so reach out to them and catch up. I love to be able to actually get together with them in person. And what I do is, how I time block these reach outs is I will just basically, if I'll actually set aside a time, and whenever I'm driving around town, like, I have like 20 minutes or so, I'm going to have between like picking my daughter from daycare and then bring her to dance class or something like that. Then I'm going to be, calling, whoever is on my contact list, right? Just to catch up with them. All right. And when I catch up with them, it's like, hey, listen, it would be great to catch up with you one on one. Like, how do you feel like getting, like, I'd love to get lunch or coffee with you sometime soon. Would you be down for that? And typically they'll say yes. So it's like, okay, great. If you could do me a favor, just text me like 3 times and dates that might work for you, and then we'll lock something in. All right. So I can do this while I'm actually driving around, right? Because they're gonna, if they respond, they're gonna text me. They're gonna text me three different dates and that sort of thing, and then we can lock something in, right? So I don't have to like, be texting on my phone while I'm actually driving, right? So let me see here. So in terms of the format, I really, really prefer in-person meetings. I just do. They are the most highly leverageable types of interactions. So I like to do coffee, lunch, beer, whatever. Like I said, I have kids, so the lunch and coffee thing works out better for me. I only go out like, once a month with, that's without my wife, right? So I'm not gonna certainly not gonna do that, for instance. Okay. And then once I start talking to them, right? So I'm actually going to be like, I'm actually going to catch up on what I'm saying here, because I gave this presentation in front of a large group of people about 3 weeks ago. So face to face in our network, and make the ask. Okay, so one of the things when you're having this dialogue going back and forth with people, what do you do? Don't talk about your job anymore. Like, that doesn't serve you. As Bob at, head of quality control. Like, nobody wants to hear about it. People want to hear about like your side hustles, like what you got going on in your business, like what you got going on in your family and that sort of thing. They don't want to hear about your boring, unfulfilling job, right? Because you're probably just going to bum them out anyways. So start talking about your real estate business, right? And it doesn't even have to be like, if you're just starting with this, you don't have to be like, lying about it. You could be like, yeah, I'm looking to buy an investment property this year. I took a look at a few properties last week. I liked one of them a lot. I made an offer on it. Didn't get accepted. Like, could you believe this? Could you believe this happened? There was 40 offers on this property. Like, just stuff like that. Just start changing the dialogue that you typically have with people around what you're doing in your real estate business. Okay. And then one thing I ask and these are the people that are in the one, right? These are the people that want to see you win, hopefully, that have the highest level of KLT with you, right? The friends and family. Is that, who do you know that might have an interest in passively investing in income property? I'm looking to buy some larger deals the next couple of years, and I want to take some people along with me, right? Who do you know who might be, who's expressed an interest in investing in real estate before, right? This is a third party question that's a little bit passive that is designed to basically ask them, right? Would you be interested in hearing about an opportunity if we had one? But also asking for, what other people, like, do you have a friend that sold a company? Maybe you had a friend that sold a company recently for $30 million that is looking to, invest that money, or, they may not even know that, right? It's like, yeah, my friend just sold his company and he has a non compete and is looking to do something new, not really sure what he's doing. And so what I asked for is like, I asked for, try to get at least two connections out of that. So this is part of that 1-1-2-3 method, right? 1-to-1 turns to 1-to-2, and then you augment it through that. So that's how you can see how you can exponentially increase the size of your network, and then leverage social media to indoctrinate that sphere and keep hammering on them is that I'm in real estate and I'm good at it. I'm in real estate and I'm good at it. Okay. So the first step in terms of, even if you don't have a social media profile, create one and sort of, start posting consistently about your journey. All right. If you're doing a fix and flip, document the actual process. Doesn't have to be long like novellas and that sort of thing. Just, quick stories and that sort of thing. People like that stuff, right? The first thing I do, if you're going to do anything, I mean, if you're going to do one thing and not anything ever again for the rest of your life on social media and real estate, is just do the first post, which is called your hero's journey post, and pin it to the top of all of your profiles. Okay. If you check out my profile on Facebook, it's pinned to the top. This is like my story from, you know, basically starting from my, beginning in real estate and my why of how I lost my parents, and my next aha moment with after I replaced my income, and my, getting into commercial real estate and how I replaced my wife's income and all that sort of thing, right? So this is the thing, you want to post it to the top of your Facebook profile, post it to the top of your Instagram profile, post to the top of your LinkedIn profile, because what ends up happening is you connect with new people, they visit your profile first, like, oh, what's this person been up to, right? And this is the first thing you're going to see. Okay. I always start with a hook. Okay, this is marketing, remember. So when you've spent 98 cents of your advertising dollar in your first line of text. Okay, so I start with a hook, right? So this was, and not everybody has a story like this, right? Like, I lost both my parents in my 20s, so this was a moment that I'm looking to characterize on this. So it's like, so it's like, the purpose of each line of text is to you know inspire the person to read the second line, and then the third line, and then the fourth line, and so on and so forth. And typically, model your hero's journey post exactly how I did this one on my profile. Use a lot of white space as your friends. Use emojis. Emojis break up the text, because remember, people are looking at this stuff on their phone, right? They're not looking at it on a desktop or a laptop computer screen. They're looking at it on their phone. It's very small. So using emojis ends up breaking up visually the actual post itself. All right. So start with that, right? You may be thinking, God, what the heck am I going to talk about? Right. I use ChatGPT and large language models and AI to not develop content for me, but to develop ideas for content. It's like sort of like a great brainstorming partner. So any of the AI tools that are out there, you don't have to upgrade to GPT-4 or anything like that. But I just go in and I just ask it a question to help me develop, 50 content ideas, right? And then I can actually take one of these, like, before and after photos. This is an easy one, but, showcase the transformation of your properties from rundown to beautifully renovated, right? So you can actually, if this takes several months, you can document this process in terms of everything you learned during that process and all the trials and tribulations you go through it, and come up with a year's worth of content out of just that experience, right? Um, DIY tutorials, all this stuff here. I asked it for 50 different ideas. And the beautiful thing about AI is that then you can actually go down and ask it, okay, well, on 7 here, success stories, share most successful investment deals and what you learn from them, right? You could ask it further as like, well, can you, give me an example of formats that I can use to share success stories? Like, give me 10 ideas on how to do that, right? So this is just a good way to do that. You can use this, and this isn't, I use this sort of little avatar thing here, but, on the actual prompt, but you can do tons of different stuff in terms of, putting in prompts and then having it spit out ideas for you, and the thing on social media is, if it does not, this is the holy trinity of social media. If it does not entertain, educate, or inspire, it does not belong in your feed. Okay. The only thing that is an exception to this rule is you'll find once a week I post stuff about family. It was a call it a, slice of life post, just so people know that, I am a business person, but I'm also a family person as well. I have a life outside of business, and I post, most of, like, 95% of the stuff that I post about is business. But this is what you want to take into consideration here, right? So you want to put value out there, okay? From entertaining, educated, or inspiration. All right. Something that was been, major game changer for me when I started implementing these strategies. By the way, I mean, I stole a lot of this stuff from my own personal development in terms of, like, I've, invested, tens of thousands of dollars into my own personal development as a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so this is stuff that I stole from people that, that where I got trained on, right? And it's worked for me. So anyways, if you had some value, get some value out of this, or if you want to, hear about, specifically more, or have questions about this, I can put in future training. So put in the comments below in terms of what you want to hear about, even if it's outside of, like, capital raising and positioning your social sphere and that sort of thing. But also, if you are interested in learning more on how to take your real estate game to the next level, to start taking down, multi-million dollar commercial properties with none of your own money, without having cash as a bottleneck to your growth, booking a call with me. It's completely no obligation. Yes, I am in the education space. I help people graduate from residential to commercial. I'd love to be able to talk to you and give you some value, or at least insights or crystal clarity in terms of what your next most important steps should be. So click the link down below in the description. You can book in a call with me and pick a spot in my calendar, and we'll talk and see if what I have might be a good fit for you. I had a celebration with one of my recent students that I onboarded last year. Brian, I have a case study with him. He took down a 57 unit mixed use apartment deal, and he, in less than 12 months, was able to increase the cash flow on that deal by $80,000. And it's got a lot more room to go, by the way. And therefore, that increase in $80,000 in cash flow increase the value of the property by $1 million. This is what commercial can do for you. All right. So don't sleep on it. If it can help, definitely reach out. But if nothing else, consider putting yourself on the direction for going to commercial real estate. I know you can do it. I've done it myself. My clients have done it. So definitely don't hold back. And cheers. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.